That would just be a poop, I guess. Just a hard
Ah.
poop.
I would love to give you a hard poop.
I don't want any poop. You feel like other people want to have sex with you?
No, no,
You
no.
just feel a
Even
sexy.
even on the rare occasion that someone feigns that interest, I can't be persuaded to believe that.
People want to have sex with all three of us. We have grown into men, and now that we're like this, people are like, I want to have sex with that guy.
You are a man, Jonathan, that I would like to grow into. I would like to put my flaccid, warty peanut into your, hopefully, I'm imagining tennis ball sized anus,
Whoa.
and then just expand and fill it like one of those little sponge dinosaurs you put in water.
Oh God, I knew you were gonna go sponge dinosaur.
How'd you? Wow, you've got
That
me
is a
going.
new sex move I have invented called the sponge dinosaur.
Oh
But my
yes,
butthole would have to be full. That's a really big opening, Jim.
That's pretty big opening.
Yeah, and just sitting there
Yeah.
relaxed with giant
you
open
would
butthole.
probably have to start with a gape maneuver.
Yeah. Well, speaking
Heard about
speaking
those.
speaking of your giant gaping butthole,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
I was having a romantic dinner with my wife last night at the Red Lobster.
Oh,
Have
it's a
you
good
heard
restaurant.
of it?
I've never been, but I've heard about it.
I know a place. It is called that. It's a little romantic place. And we were talking about your anus.
Oh wow. Yep.
That's a that was a change of pace
What? Wow. No, you weren't.
for the
How does that
discussion.
even happen? Who brings it up and who
I
then
will
responds?
I will laugh. Alex will say what, and then I will say I'm thinking about Jonathan Holmes, and then we'll have a discussion. And sometimes it's about Uranus,
Oh no.
your
Uh,
your anus hole.
mm,
I should point
as
out.
opposed to my anus wall, the walling, the sidings of it, I guess. The lining, anus lining.
Anyway,
Bummer.
anyway,
Yeah.
anyway.
Mm. Hmm.
Welcome to Podtoid, by the way. I'm Jim Sterling from Destructoid, and I do some other shit elsewhere. Joined by Jonathan Holmes.
Hi, how are you guys? That
I'm
was
alright.
for the
That's
listeners,
for
not
the
for
listener, not for me. It doesn't
two.
matter what I think. I'm sick.
Oh no,
Yeah, I'm
don't
going
say
on
it.
going on vacation tomorrow. That's weird. It's an otherwise symptomless cough.
Hmm.
My stepson gave it to me mostly because he's got the social skills of a prick and was breathing directly into my face because that's how he talks to you. So I'm sick and we're going on vacation tomorrow, so that's great, isn't it?
How
But
long are you on vacation?
there it comes. Cough, cough. Just
Mm.
a couple of days back on Friday.
Oh, it's not much
Going
of a
down to
vacation.
the beach to look at the water there. But
Some people like that. Yeah.
we're also joined by Conrad Zimmerman, who is
Uh huh.
proving incredibly popular.
Oh dear
Makes
God,
sense.
it
Yeah.
is. That's everything I feared. We really are on the verge of a cataclysm.
Someone actually
No.
did say that we need to make you a regular, especially if you're unable and unwilling. The less you want to do it, the more we need to bring you on.
Oh
So
my, oh my.
that'll be quite interesting. So anyway, that's the introductions out of the way. Onto the thorny issues of the day.
Yeah. What were you guys talking about before I came in? I heard a little bit. Jim saying that
Well, I've got a dilemma,
you
Jonathan.
do. Yeah.
It's not a dilemma I'm facing.
Okay.
It's a dilemma you're facing.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear the excitement rising in my voice?
A dilemma is a problem that I'd have to solve, right?
Oh,
So you're just
yeah.
saying you've got problem, friend.
Yes, you've got
That's
problem,
always
friend.
that's not
It is
always
like the
good.
'90s romantic film You've Got Mail,
Mm.
but it
Now, a
involves.
dilemma could be a puzzle. It could
Oh,
be a
true.
challenge.
Good,
It doesn't
right.
necessarily have to be a problem. Problem puts a very negative connotation on this. This could be
Yeah.
something joyful.
Is it joyful, Jim?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never listened to this show.
I'm not familiar with these joyful dilemmas.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I got so much content planned. It's going to be a great episode to make up for what we did last week.
Oh, last week wasn't so bad, was it? Or was
Someone said they were they almost switched off because they were disgusted. Bear in mind, this is the show that talks about, me controlling how and when you shit. And once had a regular weekly feature where we try and look at the funny side of...
pedophilia?
I wasn't going to say it.
Right. I can say it.
Yeah.
I have to say it all the time anyway.
Absolutely. But we talked about art games, and that was the line. That was the line we crossed.
I didn't bring it up. It was not. I'm going to not
Well, that's
take
the problem. I brought it up because I wanted to maneuver you and Conrad into a fight.
Right.
And then
You just wound up maneuvering yourself into
I
it.
laid the trap to trap me. And then I ended up, and then I did a Jimquisition on it when I didn't want to do it.
People have seemed to like it. I wanted to watch it, but I couldn't. And I probably will be able to watch it after the show today that we're recording right now. But I've heard it's good. I've heard that you make some strong points and made some people feel good.
It just proves you had a shit ton of rope.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think
And
so.
I was perfectly willing to let you have it. That was not a problem.
Yeah, you were really impassioned about this subject, Jim. I was surprised that you felt any way about it, really. So
it
that's
was a
neat.
linguistics debate, and they say you should never debate linguistics. But I say to those people, fuck cheese, is what I say. So anyway, I'm going to make up for last week. I apologise to the listeners who I may have offended by talking about art games. So instead, we're going to talk about Jonathan Holmes's cavernous, meaty chunder.
More? We already talked about.
Wait.
this-
Hey, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Uh-huh.
It's all right. Okay?
Oh. That is one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, it's okay.
Hey, wait. It's all right. After just, shooting the cat or
Absolutely.
the house burns down or, everyone ate all the cake before you had any. These are not the all right times.
It is like...
Settle down, baby. Settle down. It's gonna be okay.
It's not.
Okay,
Oh,
you know I
what?
love you, right, baby? You know I love you.
It is like Bob Marley said, lay, lady, lay.
Ah, he did say that.
He did say that. But what Jim Sterling says is, Jonathan Holmes,
Yes.
I have a dilemma.
You do?
Oh.
I thought I had the dilemma.
I have a dilemma for you to face and solve.
Ah, got it. You possess a dilemma for me. Mhm.
It's a choice. It's a moral choice, like in Bioshock. Okay? This is on level with anything Ken Levine could come up with for his videoed games. Right? If you had the choice, right, of shitting out of your ass, like normal forever, right?
Sounds okay.
Like a shitting idiot, right? Joining the shit race with all the other rats in the hole, right? Disgusting, horrible practice. You should be ashamed of yourself, right? Or you never shit again, but once a week, a small version of me comes out of your ass.
Oh.
A small, naked version of me.
Is it alive or dead?
It's... that throws up some possibilities I wasn't considering.
Yeah, if it's a live you that will make me laugh with some good jokes like you always do in real life.
I'll mostly be too busy laughing because you'll hear laughing like coming out of your gut, just like just like that, because obviously it's funny. Then you'll feel it just sort of coming through, and then as I crown, you'll just hear. like that. I'll flop out, right, naked, wearing little tiny aviator glasses, and then I'll scurry off out of the room. Bear in mind, Alex threw this bit in. If you catch me, you'll win a prize. But whatever happens, as soon as I disappear around the corner, I'll walk past wearing a They Might Be Giants shirt, fully grown, because it will be me. That's the important bit here. It's not just like a little clone. It will just be me who once a week is little and in your ass. Through reasons, possibly sorcery.
I'd imagine, yeah.
But obviously I won't be coming out of you fully grown. I'll be coming out of you, I'd say about just the size of a large poo.
Right.
And that's once a week. No cleanup. That's compared to a lifetime of shitting.
I hate to bog this idea down with details, but
no.
I do need to know some more about it in order to make a decision. So I give birth to you through my butt once a week.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm pregnant with you.
Well,
and,
I'll be living in your ass.
So do you go back in later, and then I
So you're
poop
just
you
gonna
out
come
again
and go
later?
as you please from Jonathan Holmes' ass? How is that different from now?
Like I'm your little Oh, Conrad. Yikes. So if I'm giving... I mean, I've always...
This will be once a week, right? I've got to make this clear. Once a week. And I'm not going to live inside you like some sort of arse genie. Although, again, that might be an ancillary debate we'll have at a later time. But it'll be like a minute or two before I'm scheduled to come out. I'll be in there laughing. Because obviously I'm going to have the time of my life.
No, you wouldn't. In my digestive system, in my bowels?
In your rectum.
Sounds terrible.
I honestly can't think of anything better. Just
but there wouldn't be any
snugged
pooping
up
anymore.
like a sleeping blanket.
So, all right. You are you. You are Jim Sterling, my good friend.
Jim Sterling, reviews editor for Destructoid.com, host of the Jimquisition on The Escapist, and Games Media Gun for Hire at your service, sir.
Right. A huge presence in our industry.
And hopefully a huge presence in your anus.
Once a week, you shrink to the size of a large poo and teleport into my rectal cavity and start laughing. Yeah. So it's just you. And your wife is just like, oh, I guess he's on his way. And she just expects you to be out of the house during that time every week.
Yeah, she'll know. I mean, it'll give her time to watch Mad Men or something on Netflix.
And then so it's you. It's not just a little version of you. It's my friend is in my butt.
Yeah, your little friend.
Wearing sunglasses.
Yeah.
And then I have to poo you out, and then you're just in my house, and then you put on a They Might Be Giant shirt, and I can chase you and get a prize, and I do that every week.
Well, you got them out of sequence. I'll be bollock naked, stars, right? My little bare bottom, right, just out. I love this idea. I don't give a fuck what anyone else said. I don't give a fuck what that commenter said, who said he doesn't like Podtoid because it's just me laughing at myself. But I'll be out naked, my little strawberry dinkus just flapping about, right? I'll be making it for a door because I don't want you to see me, because it will be like Smeagol in Lord of the Rings. Like, it's camera cuts. You don't see the transformation in his face to Gollum. It's just camera cuts. So you wouldn't see me grow or anything, because that would be weird. I wouldn't know how that would look. But while I'm little, like the little imps from Golden Axe, and that music might play, you can catch me, and then you'll get a prize of something.
How's that music go again? That's good music. Those guys are jerks. They're hard to catch.
Fucking jerks. They're absolute jerks.
That's a great part of Golden Axe. That's tough because I don't like pooping. It's time consuming. You never know how long it's going to take, actually. So it just throws off your whole day. Can't schedule anything.
Nobody likes pooping, Jonathan.
Good to know.
Conrad, do you like defecating?
I in the moment, or as a general rule?
I will admit it could be a relief, but answer. I mean, the best prevention is
it's not something I spend my day looking forward to doing.
Right, but if you have to do it, the feeling of defecating is better than the feeling of having to defecate and you can't. You're stuck
Correct.
with that
And so
poop
there is a
feeling.
certain level of satisfaction. I think there is probably some endorphin rush associated with pooping. And if nothing else, when you have a really successful one, you feel accomplished. Like I
Yeah.
mean, if it's unusually large, or if it's coming out at a strange angle, or if it's made up of some extra sharp bits,
Ouch. Yeah.
there's
It's interesting.
when it's over, you have a definite sense that hey, I did something just now.
When I was taking care of dogs one summer, and it came to my mind that that's as close as dogs ever come to like poetry or artwork. Because when they poop, they look at it and they're like, "Yeah, I did that. I took it in and I put it out. That's mine." They get really proud of their poops, the dogs. Anyway, Jim, this is a tough one. If I
It's
were get,
absolutely difficult, isn't it?
yeah, it
And
is.
I said it
'Cause
was a dilemma.
you're right. I'm gonna try to answer it quickly though. If I were getting to give birth to my own family of Jim Sterlings, who would just have the lifespan of a mosquito, like 7 days, like every week I got to give birth to a new Jim Sterling, that I would do. Pooping out my actual friend and having to know that you were in there, and
Oh,
you're
I know.
going back in there later, and you
Going
probably
back in
bring
and
it
I'll
up.
be definitely telling you the things I've seen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think I could do that. I don't
Yeah.
think I could live with that kind of friendship in my life. I'd rather take pooping over that. But if I got to give birth to my own family of Sterling babies, each of which would be dead by the time the next one, so there wouldn't be like a. And if I had all these little U's to take care of, that would build up. So there'd only be one at any given time. That I'd probably
It'd
do.
be like a little Jimagotchi.
Yeah,
I'm just imagining the dietary advice you would give him on every exit.
because you'd have the inside track on
Right.
what's going on in my inside track.
Oh ho ho ho!
Dude,
I
lay
hate
off the
it.
peanuts. Like,
Yeah, that was an awful. That was the worst joke ever.
Because I assume because for you to not poo for this to work, I'd probably have to be in there a lot, just like eating your shit, so
Oh,
that it doesn't come out.
oh yeah. I
That
thought it was
might
just
be.
magic.
Yeah, I was thinking magic, but then Conrad brought up Conrad gave me an excuse to think about eating your feces, and I took that.
oh, like you needed that.
I cashed that prize in.
That's one I don't get because it's yucky, right?
Eating poo.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing good about it, is there? Is it intimate or something? Is it like, oh, we're so close now? The stuff you needed to get out of your body because it was waste is now what I'm eating for sustenance. That's
I think there gets to a point when because some people like to be nasty when they get down to it.
Well, and there could be something of a dominant submissive relationship there where it's satisfying them to, be consuming something that's only considered waste by their dominant partner. I mean, there's all sorts of ways that could go.
I think it's an extremity though. I think it's one of those things where you've done a lot of stuff and you get like tired of it, and then you can't
And you get to the point where that's the frontier.
So you can't get any nastier, you can't get any more submissive. You can't get any more in love with Jonathan Holmes. And so then you think about eating their shit.
It's interesting because I know we're not going to talk about art games, but if we were to talk about them, I would say that there are some games that people qualify as art games that are that. It's that I've played every other kind of video game ever. God, I love video games, but my tolerance is, I can't feel that feeling of excitement anymore. So now I'm playing just the shit game that's just terrible. It's just so terrible, but it's unlike every other game I've ever played.
And at that point, a certain hairless developer says, "Give me one moment, and I'll just drop my punch and do this on a little plate, and this will be very mature adult shit." And there we go. It has come full sequence, like the human centipedes.
Why do they call that the full sequence in the Human Centipedes? I haven't seen those movies yet. What's going on there?
I think it's something to do with the director being a pretentious ass.
What's his name again? Cowboy Jim or something?
It is now. I think it's something like Jimmy Six, I think.
Yeah, he's always wearing a cowboy hat and like got a piece of straw in his mouth, even though he's from England, I think, or Europe. He's from some Europe.
He's a disappointing man. I liked the first one. I thought the first Human Centipede had a sense of wit to it. A sense of savviness. The second one was, I think, Jimmy Six misunderstanding what made the first one good. And thinking everyone just wanted the nastiness.
Right. I've heard the German doctor is coming back for the third one.
Well, I heard he was gonna, then he quit because he disagreed over the script and Jimmy Six was a wanker to him. That's what I heard.
I haven't seen any of these either because I don't really get opportunities to watch horror films and pay attention to and enjoy them the way I used to. But I was led to understand that the plot of the second film is about an obsession with the first film.
It's absolutely masturbatory.
You see, but that amuses me because
in concept.
Yeah, in concept that amuses me. In execution, it could have been awful. I haven't seen the film,
was.
But that's unfortunate because had it been executed well, like you could still probably make complaints about it losing focus or thinking that the extremity of it was, and still make a case that was executed well, and that's unfortunate because that I think's the clever bit. A guy being sewn to someone's ass, being sewn to someone's ass, being sewn to someone's ass is. I live on the internet.
Sure, but in concept, when I heard about the sequel, I was pretty interested. But
that made me interested.
It was an interesting concept, but unfortunately, the protagonist / antagonist was really just indicative of it was Tommy or Jimmy Six. It was him. The guy was a guy who loved the first film and then got it completely wrong and fucked it up, which is what the director did himself.
Oh, interesting.
In that he loved his own work so much that he lost the plot and fucked it up.
Huh.
So,
yeah. But they don't really paint it that way. It's just a guy being gross for like an hour and a half. And he's a pretty one-dimensional villain, right? He's just, I'm gross.
Which was a shame. I mean, one reason Alex was looking forward to it was the main character is just so weird looking and such a weird, creepy little guy. Had ton of potential as a character. And that actor he's never going to get another job because he's not suitable for anything else. Like, the look of him and the way he acts, he wasn't going to do anything else. That was his one shot, and unfortunately he wasn't utilised as well as he should have been, but there you go.
That's too bad.
Yeah, welcome to the Flixist podcast.
It's okay. What's going on with video games? I don't know.
I played the Resident Evil 6 demo today.
Oh, how was it?
I liked it. Are we supposed to hate it? I can't keep track of what we meant to hate.
I don't know if it was the one at E3. The one at E3 I was lukewarm about at best. But I haven't played the new one, the Dragon's Dogma one. Or maybe it's the same one. What happens in the demo?
I'm going to guess it's the same one.
Yeah, I was guessing that too.
You got all 3 playable characters, or playable scenarios. I guess there are 6 characters. You've got a short section with Leon's bit, a bit with Chris's bit, and a bit with Sergey, is it? Sergey's bit? I don't think no, it's not Sergey. Jake. Jacqueline. There's someone called Sergey. Whatever. I liked it. I wasn't too hot on Sergey Jake. That's his new name, Sergey Jake. I wasn't too hot on his section. But the Leon stuff, aesthetically and atmospherically, felt very Resident Evil.
Oh, cool.
I mean, obviously it plays more like Resident Evil 4, but the atmosphere was old school Resident Evil. There's one point he opens a door and it comes out onto this big banquet hall where they were going to have some celebratory dinner and everything's still laid out. But the architecture and the furniture was so Raccoon City Mansion. Mm-hmm. And it really impressed me. I really enjoyed that. The Chris stuff is obviously very action-heavy, and probably a bit too action-heavy for some fans. But as someone who, can enjoy a little bit of mostly everything, I liked it. It was still scary. That was the interesting thing. Even though the enemies had guns, because they're kind of, I guess, enhanced Ganado-style guys. Even though they still had guns, they were still just weird and fucked up to the point where it was still kind of scary, especially with the unstable, weird mutations they have now. You'll shoot a guy's legs off, but then, oh, no, his legs are turning into a moth. It's, it's very freaky and out there and just shit constantly happening. It has that kind of Left 4 Dead style panic to it, whereas Leon's is more slow, and it'll be interesting to see how those work together in the game, whether it will feel disjointed. So we'll have to see on that. But I was impressed. My only real problem was the screen tearing, which I hope is just for the demo. I hope they fix that before launch, because the screen the screen tears up like a motherfucker. It's unbearable.
Weird. Well, that's a technical thing that they'd have to fix if they've got any brains. Is there a part in the Leon bit where you're just walking behind a guy for a long time?
Yes.
That didn't bug you?
I thought it was a poor choice for the demo.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't mind it so much. I think the idea of that whole... I think they went for something deliberate there, because they had a very action-heavy Chris sequence, and I think they were trying to use the Leon sequence to establish mood. Mm-hmm. It kind of worked, because after following that guy, then when that girl sort of staggers out from around the door, it did make me jump a bit.
Really?
It did a bit.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it had that, because Resident Evil was always about that, like just jump scares, which I know many consider taboo and passé, but I like them. I like a good jump scare, and I liked that they put that in there.
I played that at E3, so it was non-optimal, and I said that in the quick video I did of it. That, I don't know, maybe this would be a lot of fun in a quiet, dark room. But at E3, I was just terribly, terribly annoyed. And
awful choice for a show floor demo.
Yeah, and I didn't feel powerless at all, which is fun in an atmospheric horror thing to give you some power, but not full power. I get that you have to do a balance there, but I knew I was Leon and I had a gun and I'd killed zombies before and I was expecting zombies at any second, so I was just kind of waiting for them. It's not like I was going to be surprised that there's going to be zombies later. I'm just patiently waiting for the zombies to show up, and instead I'm just following someone around, and when the woman popped out, I'm like, cool, I get to shoot a thing? And then she's just like, oh yeah, now follow me too. I'm like, oh no. How could you do it,
valid,
man?
Yeah. It's a valid criticism. I think people are gonna... I was gonna say it's good the demo's out, but then I realised they fucking restricted it to Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah.
It would have been good, because I think people need to know what to expect. Yeah. If you are expecting to be frightened in that powerless sense, you're going to be very disappointed. That's not what this game is.
Yeah.
I went into it not really expecting much at all, because I wasn't sure what they were doing with this one, just judging by how mixed the footage has looked. So I went in there a bit open-minded, and I'm pleased with what I saw. So I'm looking forward to it now.
Oh, good. Yeah, I could see that. If you want a horror atmosphered Resident Evil atmosphered, because there's a special kind of Resident Evil atmosphere too that's not always scary, but it's specific to the series action game, then I think you'll like it. Yeah. Do you like sliding around on your knees and stuff and shooting guys in crotch?
Yeah,
it's all right.
Yeah.
It's like Vanquish, except slowed down a little bit. And you don't have to do that stuff. You can just play it like regular Resident Evil if you want.
Hey, do what you want, guys. It's America, after all. So long as you're white and straight, do what you want.
That's good.
That was political satire.
Yes.
Did you see that bit?
I did.
Hey guys, how about that, Anderson Cooper? That was good as well.
Straight. Yeah, he told it.
Political observations. That's the kind of stuff I'm doing now. That's my material that I do at the comedy clubs.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, but anyway, Conrad.
Yes, Conrad Zimmerman.
Uh-oh.
What are
How
you...
you-
Never bodes well.
Well, we've just been talking without you for a while.
I
like,
feel bad because I'm very
me too.
infatuated with Jonathan. So when I
I
get a
can't
chance,
blame
when I get a chance to talk to him, I often just talk at him, and then I remember, oh, we invited someone on, and we're just ignoring him.
I felt totally guilty about that just now. Yeah.
What have you been? Have you been playing anything at all recently that's interesting?
I'm still playing the Penny Arcade game in around where I have time to do so, and I think I'm like right at the very end. So I guess I'm every night I'm like I'm gonna wrap this up, and I think I have it open right now in the final battle, and I'm just like I've got something else to do, so I'm gonna get that done. I really like it. It's actually it's playing it. I don't. It's not that it's all that unique, I don't think, but
Doesn't seem it.
there's something about it that I've really appreciated in terms of craft. There are some places where it's like, hey, this is kind of all right. This is kind of lazy. That's fine. Like coming up with monsters. Some of the stuff does feel a little more stock than we've come to expect from this series up to this point, but at the same time, it also has a far greater variety of enemies than the series had up to this point, and that was something that was really an issue with the second game. Is that, it didn't really introduce a whole lot of anything in terms of things to fight and cool concepts and so forth. It just it wasn't nearly as effective. This one has a plot that genuinely had a surprise for me, which I so very rarely get to say. Like, so many games are so obvious about everything that, maybe it's just, because we've played so many games, we've seen so many movies, and they borrow so many of their tropes from movies, and we've read so many books, and now who's kidding? Nobody's reading. But there comes a point in almost every game where I can say, this is what's going to happen. And then something totally I didn't expect, but made complete and total sense in the context of the game happened. And I was like, that's refreshing. That's great. So it's gotten me thinking about some ideas in games, and so I appreciate it for that. But again, it doesn't do anything that's all that fantastic, that's going to make it stand out as a really great game. It just does a couple of things in a really effective manner.
Well, what if you like their past games and you prefer old Final Fantasy to modern JRPGs or RPGs?
Oh, I don't think you'll have any problem making the transition. I mean, if you, the writing, and I haven't looked at the credits yet. I don't know how much dialogue contribution so forth was brought by Jerry Holkins versus anything that might have been written by Robert Boyd of Z-Boyd Games. That's hard to say. It all feels largely consistent.
What on earth is that whistling?
That is a truck backing up outside my window.
Son of a bitch! Tell him that we're recording Podtoid. He'll understand.
Like, oh my god! Tell Jim Sterling. He said. Yeah. Anyway. It's nobody who likes the first two games on the merits of their writing, I think, are going to be disappointed, other than there's not as much in it, it seems. It doesn't feel like there's much to explore in environments and find things. There just seems to be a lot less investigative dialogue, which was really one of the better aspects of the Penny Arcade Adventure games made by Hothead, and could very well be a reason why there weren't more of those, because I can imagine the strain and effort to produce that kind of volume of text for multiple episodes over time would be really wearing for someone like Holkins or anybody, really.
Sure, unless you're getting paid tons of money and can drop everything else. And those games, they don't do poorly, but they're not huge blockbusters either, from what I've gathered. They're mid-range.
I think if they were, there would have been a third one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well,
I just want to play it,
but it's fun. For the most part, I'll have a full review, I guess.
Awesome. I do need to point out the battle system I was praising as sounding so original. in the comments to the last episode, many people pointed out that it's actually apparently identical to Grandia's battle system.
Yeah,
which,
and that's something
yeah,
I've known either, really. I've played some retro RPGs, and I'm familiar with a lot of the tropes. This didn't seem to me like it was something that hadn't been done before, but it felt fresh in a modern context because it's something that you don't see very often, at the very least. And
yeah.
so,
I mean, it's been years since I played Grandia, so I can't. I can only remember the voice acting, which is probably the worst thing to remember from it.
yeah, that can't have been an enjoyable experience.
I get a kick
But
out of that stuff.
yeah, I was really happy actually. People piped right up and pointed it out, and actually now knowing that, I may go and play that series just because I think that the way it works in Penny Arcade Adventures 3 is really interesting and fun, and very, very pressure oriented. Though, because it's and if I'm remembering correctly, the Hothead games did this too, where it was you were always under pressure to wrap up a battle quickly because enemies became more powerful the longer they were allowed to participate in combat. And this, or maybe I'm confusing this with other Zeboid games. I think that's a Zeboid convention.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought that was in Cthulhu.
Yeah, in Cthulhu Saves the World. Yeah, I think you're right.
That's what it was. Yeah, I thought so.
And so that's present here as well, and it has a really interesting impact on on that, because now it's not just interrupting them prevents them from making an attack. Interrupting them prevents them from resisting more defense. It prevents them from possibly putting a more annoying recurring effect into the field, or so forth. The value of it becomes more intense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like that, and I wanted to see if Grandia approaches it in similar ways or so forth. I'm very curious. So thanks to those people who brought it up, because now I've got something else to do.
You always have plenty to do. We should get those guys on Subholm sometimes, the Z-Boyd guys. They seem neat.
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
They probably come on. Oh, speaking of that, we had Tim Rogers on last Sunday, and Jim, he wanted me to tell you that he has read Destructoid.com.
Has he?
Yep, he's read a couple of your reviews, and he thinks you're a great writer and that you do good reviews. And then he's like, what do you give Skyrim? And we're like, I think a 9. He's like, I think it was a 10 out of 10. Oh, he did. And then he was all sad about that. And yet, overall, he wanted you to know that he likes your stuff. So that's nice.
For God's sake.
Isn't that nice?
Oh, for God's sake, now I can't make fun of the fact that he writes novels on Kotaku.
He actually made fun of himself about that.
He talked about that a good bit in the show. It was a good bit. People should go watch it.
I've got to say, I saw his trailer for I saw it when you posted it for Ziggurat, and that was very funny. So I may...
You would like him in real life,
sure. I saw him in real life once.
Me too.
He was stood behind Lee Alexander at E3, and then someone said, that's Tim Rogers, and I looked at him and said, yep, makes sense. Which I don't mean to be disparaging, he just looked like Tim Rogers.
He does, and that's not by accident. But yeah, he was quick to say, I'm not really a writer, I do it as a hobby, and my stuff is really long, and I volunteer my editor-in-chief at Kotaku to edit it down if he doesn't like how long it is. I'm not going to be insulted if he shortens my stuff, but they never do, and there you go.
I always said that basically they save up the words they're not using in other posts and pop them in. Which I say as a harmless goof.
That's right. It's just a gaff, a goof.
It's with love.
Yeah, it's just a jab. Yeah. Jim,
Jibber
we have to
jabber.
make sure. Oh, jibber jabber, Jim. We have to make sure that we do the Willem Dafoe pitch this week and
Don't
not do
worry.
it at the end.
It's coming. It's coming up.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you if there's a game you want to talk about that you've been playing, and then after that, Willem Dafoe time.
Okay, awesome. I shouldn't be playing video games. I'm so backed up on work. I have Lollipop Chainsaw Part 2 Talking to Women About Video Games editorial to finish, and then I have to do the Wii U one for the Talking to Women About Video Games episode we did with Shannon, and then I've got news that I wish I had written, and I'm trying to book people for Sup Holmes, and I'm trying to get this stuff with the E3 videos. There's still some non-time sensitive stuff I'm trying to post, but there's all these technical problems with it, so I shouldn't be playing video games, which means I have. And I'll tell myself I'm just going to play Pikmin 2 for 5 minutes, and then an hour and a half later, I can't stop playing it. I love Pikmin 2 so much, man. Game is so good.
Is that the old play control?
Yeah.
Version. I call it. Do you see what I do? I call it old play control now because the Wii's so fucking old.
It is. It's almost
and
6 years
Pikmin
old.
2 was for the Wii was released a billion years ago in other countries, so I call it old play control.
It's the graphics first turned me off a little bit, then I found out you could alter them a little bit, soften them, and I love it. Oh, it's so terrifying though. I just got to the part where have you been at this part? Have you played through Pikmin 2, you guys?
I only ever really played a bit of the first.
All right, I'm going to describe it. You've been playing for a little while. You've collected all the different types of Pikmin that all have specific abilities. You feel a sense of mastery in the game. You no longer feel like you're learning the rules. You've taken on some pretty harsh challenges at this point, so you're feeling good. And you're in this really tough dungeon where they pull these enemies on you that can regenerate health and like eat all your Pikmin in like 2 attacks, and you're like, but you survive that, so you're finally through this cave, and you can't wait to get out. You've suffered some heavy losses, but the light is at the end of the tunnel, and it says final floor, and you're like, yes, and then you just hear, and you're like, what? Why is there farting now? Then they're like noisier farts, and you're like, Pikmin's just a farting game now? And then you see this disgusting white grub just come out of nowhere and eat one of your Pikmin and attack you, and you're like, what is that thing? And then there's just a huge line of them just coming from nowhere, and the fart sounds are picking up. And you're like, oh, what? And there's this giant, disgusting red slug thing that's just farting out maggots at you. And you've got to kill it and kill the maggots and listen to the farts all at the same time. And it's a total nightmare. And I got slaughtered. I've played that game God knows how many times. There's something about it that still takes me to a magical place of nightmares. That's my story about Pikmin 2. Can't stop playing it.
That's a good story.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah. And Theatrhythm came out today. As soon as we're done with the show, I'm going to go buy that. I'm excited to play that.
How'd you say it?
I don't know how to say it. I know I'm mispronouncing it, but I don't. People get on me for not watching your videos, Jim, or watching videos in general. I can. There's like an hour a day where I can just watch videos.
I don't know how you say it. I think
rhythm.
I was calling it Theatrhythm.
Theatrhythm.
Yeah, I would have leaned towards.
I just said Theatrhythm. But then Dale, I think, did a story saying, "Oh, by the way, we've all been pronouncing it wrong."
Yeah.
I think it might be theatre rhythm. But my rule is, when it comes to Square Enix's stupid, pretentious, waffly, fucking made-up words, I'll say it how it's fucking spelled. Cannot fucking stand it.
Makes sense.
Fabula Nova Crystallis Paprika fucking Pringles. And the Kingdom Hearts names. Dear fucking Christ in heaven above us of 1,000 years.
They're getting a little dream drop distance.
Dream drop distance!
3D.
You know what?
More like creamy
Jim,
plop jizz stance, which is the pose I take when I spunk.
It's okay, baby. It's okay.
Hey.
Shh, it's okay.
It's all right.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to bring upset and nastiness onto Podtoid. We're having a good show.
Just give it some dream drop distance. It's okay.
Dream drop fucking birth by sleep. What the fuck is that?
Jim?
Birth by sleep.
Jim, the world ends with you.
He's right.
I don't mind the world ends with you. That at least sounds like it might be clever. Rather than it sounds like something some prick on a live journal writes to sound clever. 368 over 2.5 fucking days. What? What the fuck? Square Enix?
Did you play The World Ends With You? Because it actually, in a lot of ways, reflects something. It's not unlike something I'd imagine would wind up a story on a Facebook page to a certain extent.
I didn't play all of it. I played some of it and then got very, very bored.
Yeah,
That's true of so many people. I love it in theory, but in practice, the
right.
pacing was off, and I just lost interest. Yeah, someday I'll play it again. There was a
We
time
weren't
in my
ready.
life.
We didn't have Street Pass. That was the problem. That was the crucial element that was missing from The World Ends With You. That's how they're going to fix this whole 3DS, sluggish thing. They're just going to make a new The World Ends With You. Everyone's going to sign on and do Street Pass. Done.
That is
Save
so
the
not
industry
true.
right there.
The 3DS will begin with it, and that is what they'll say in their trailers, and everyone will go, that is deep. That is dream drop distance deep.
Nintendo had their shareholders meeting today, and I think they announced that US and Europe 3DS sales are still what they consider sluggish or weak or something, which came as a surprise to me. I thought the sales had picked up just fine, but not by Nintendo standards. They're doing well in Japan.
I announced that they can suck it. I don't even know why. I would like to give Iwata a note, just a piece of paper that just has "suck it" written on it.
I think that after years and years of success and the DS, and the PSP was a lovely piece of hardware, but I think it's hard to deny the DS's dominance in the handheld market up until iOS came along. I think the expectations for the success of a Nintendo handheld were very high internally.
Right.
And so I think that they expressed that enthusiasm to investors in a way that they may be concerned now about having to tail back on that. So
the game's changed. I've got an iPad. I'm playing a Gears of War clone on the motherfucker. It looks good. Looks damn good. Cost about $3. And then you've got a game coming out on the 3DS that could easily run on an iPad. Something like Theatrhythm, especially, because it's just touching. It's just touching. That could run on the iPad, even for people that don't like, no button controls. There's no button controls in that. And it's $40? Mm-hmm. You can't keep justifying that. That's going to have to change because, I'm sorry, the games on iOS are absolutely changing expectations. They've coloured my expectations. I can't review something like Escape Plan for the PS Vita, which is an iPhone game. It's structured exactly like an iPhone game. It's interacted with exactly like an iPhone game, but it's $10 for something I could get on iTunes for 99 cents. It's definitely coloured the way I've approached these as a reviewer and as a consumer. You can't keep justifying it, and they're going to have to change.
And they're doing it to themselves too. I mean, they could have tried to keep that expectation from changing, but Capcom sold Ghost Trick for the DS for I think $30 retail, and then put it out on iOS for like $7 or something like that. And it's the exact same game.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what are we supposed to think?
I mean, you're paying for buttons. You're paying for the privilege of playing with it on buttons, and frankly, I don't give a fuck about that anymore. I'm happy with a lot of at least with what's going on the iPad, to where I'm quite happy playing with these touch things, especially something like Escape Plan that was... I think for me the PS Vita is what put it all in perspective. Now, I like the Vita. I think it's a lovely little piece of technology, but it's got a touchscreen, and developers swarmed and flocked to that. I'm not going to have a repeat of the outburst I had a few weeks ago on that matter, but they swarmed to that, and some of the games coming out play, look, feel, and are structured exactly like an iOS game. And as I play it, I'm thinking, why is this $10? Why is this $10 when I can play at least 5 of these for 99 cents? It'll last with the guys who are resisting Apple stuff. Mm-hmm. The guys like Stealth, our beloved Destructoid commenter Stealth, who hates anything on iOS because he's Stealth.
Does he really?
He absolutely cannot stand it. He likes JRPGs and
Nintendo.
Nothing else.
He loves Nintendo.
He does like himself some Nintendo, and he likes buttons. You won't take that man's. He'll pay, through the nose for buttons, but you can't. Someone like me who can, I'm happy playing almost anything not called Kinect. I'm happy with a lot of the games on iPad. I'm playing my iOS games a lot more than I'm touching the other stuff. It's cheaper. The games are getting more interesting, more complex, deeper. In some ways, more mature, because some of these games are being really clever. And when I say mature, I mean adult-themed rather than M-rated guts and heads blowing up. There's some really fascinating shit on there. There's a game came out yesterday called Naya Libra or something, which looked very interesting puzzle platformer. There's a game I've been playing called Crow, which is what it is. You're a crow and you do these weird challenges and stuff, and absolutely fucking gorgeous game. Just aesthetically, musically, the way it's presented is gorgeous. This stuff's coming out, and then I look at Escape Plan on Vita, and I think the only people who say that's good are people that aren't playing iOS games. They can't. You can't play iOS games for any length of time, then go to Escape Plan and think, yeah, that's $10.
That's pretty brutal. Yeah, I hope that Nintendo is satisfied with just the Nintendo diehard market, which is, millions of people.
It's not inconsiderable, yeah.
Yeah. If they end up selling, 60 or 70,000 3DSs lifetime and have some Mario titles that sell 15 or 20 million a piece on that, I hope they're happy with that, because that might be as good as it gets for them with this new market, unless they really bend to the way of the phones. Then that might be as good as it can get at the old business model they have.
Yeah. He-Man.
Doesn't get old for me.
Doesn't get old. I want to play Infinity Blade, He-Man.
That's their most profitable game, right? Epic's most popular.
Well, they say they make most of their money off that shit.
Good for them.
Hey, I love Infinity Blade. I don't care what anyone says.
People like it. It's not bad.
It's good stuff. Love it.
Yeah, good
stuff.
times.
Good times.
Gotta get me one of those iPads. I just can't stand them. Like, oh, geez, a big.
That's what I said. Then I saw Holly Green, Destructoid's Holly Green, playing with one, and I thought, I'm gonna get one.
Yeah, I should get one.
And then I got one, and it was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, a woman has one. She's got a Gen 1 that she got when the Gen 2s came out, because they were cheap. And I used it, I think, 4 or 5 times. And right after that, I guess, I got an Android. I got a Zoom. And, I mean, in a lot of circumstances, for all, it's a very large alarm clock. Like,
oh.
It's a big alarm clock. But I have, as of late, started to take to using it more. I get books on it now, and so I'll, go to bed at night, and I'll take it with me to bed because it's my giant ass alarm clock. And hey, now I can read in bed, and so I'll do that. It means I'm actually going to bed instead of just falling unconscious wherever I happen to have ceased momentum.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're very much like a shark. You just stop and then you're comatose.
Yeah, it's true. So I use it for that. I don't really play games on it. I check email. I occasionally communicate on it, or send messages, tell people to do things, tell people not to do things.
Just like you would with a computer.
Just like I would with a computer, but, I can do it on the couch with the need of a large keyboard. I mean, there are conveniences associated with it, but they're just conveniences. It doesn't feel in any way like it's a vital part of my life, like it seems to have become for so many people that I know.
I must admit, the other day, I had Gmail open on my computer screen, and I was sat at the desk, checking my email on my iPad in my hands, and then I just looked at myself and just thought, you piece of shit. You entitled piece of fucking shit.
Privilege, maybe. privilege, not
You
entitled.
stuck-up, arrogant, oppressive fascist.
Whoa.
Oh dear, I didn't think all that. That's too coherent for how I normally think of a morning. I normally just think, that's normally what I think in the morning. Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, it's actor.
He's a famous actor.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in the new Spider-Man film.
Is that right?
No,
That was a bad choice on their part.
well, they've totally had to recast it despite having found almost perfect actors for everything. You won't find a better Green Goblin. You won't find a better Doctor Octopus. You won't find a better Jonah Jameson.
Mm-mm.
Amen to that.
Did they recast Jonah Jameson?
He's not even in the new one.
Well, that's better off because it would just be invite
Well,
comparisons.
that position is replaced by Gwen Stacy's father, right? Is that?
Oh, it's Dennis Leary or something?
Yeah.
That's weird.
That I'm gonna hunt this guy down character is.
Yeah. The grump.
Fuck that. Anyway.
Well, in celebration of the absence of Willem Dafoe, then.
Yeah. Now,
right.
Conrad, you don't really listen to Podtoid, which I don't hold against you, because
I appreciate that.
Who would? It boggles the minds that even 5 people would want to listen, let alone the numbers we actually have.
Well, and I'm a man of little taste, so.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Shut your pie hole.
I think you've got great taste, Conrad. But yes,
well,
you're not a. Yeah.
Yeah. If you were a man of no taste, then I would be upset that you weren't listening to this. But
that's the target demo right there.
Yeah.
With no taste.
People with no taste, preferably like low IQ, who may have a criminal record. That's the target demo that I'm after. And I do think, especially judging some of the questions people send Jonathan Holmes, that we are hitting our targets. That's good. That's good, and I appreciate our listeners. God bless each and every one of you. Never forget.
And thank God for you, Jim.
Aww.
See, yeah. I'm still pissed at you that I'm watching Buffy, by the way.
You got him into Buffy?
Not into, but he Conrad wrote a community blog on Destructoid. Just he started watching Buffy. You've started watching Buffy.
Yeah, I'm like 9 episodes in. They just did Moloch, which I assume they did Moloch for the first time because nobody spends that much money on a costume in a show clearly budgeted of that size to never bring it back again.
You'd be surprised. One of the best looking demons they had. It's on screen for less than 10 seconds. They never brought it back, and I was furious. Huh. It looked amazing. It was like you see it in the last episode of season 5.
So they had some money at that point.
Yeah, they were rocking it by that point.
But they did make up for it by putting it in all of the title sequences, just the one shot in season 6. All the title, for that small thing. But as I said in the comments to that blog, season 1 it's slow. It's establishing. The Master is not an interesting series, big bad. Season 2 is okay. Season 3 is where they really sort of hit it. Most people's fondest memories come from.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Willem Dafoe. Okay, Willem Dafoe. So Conrad, as someone who's not a regular listener, Willem Dafoe is something of a patron saint of this podcast.
Right, yes. I actually did. I had heard that.
Yeah, I have canonized him officially as that. We like to come up with ideas for movies that he could star in.
Right.
So we do Willem Dafoe movie pitches every week. Well, I say every week. We haven't done it for 3 weeks. But I've got one cooked up. I'm a little bit proud of it.
Oh, wow. Great.
Hopefully, since Willem's got nothing to do other than pose in steampunk clothes for fashion catalogues, he might be interested in this. I have seen that link. Thank you, the 10 dozen people that send me links to anything Willem Dafoe related. I do see all this stuff. Anyway, the movie is called I Sing a Song of Spiders. Willem Dafoe is the lead singer in the most popular high school band, called The Awesome Band. All the high school 17-year-old girls are in love with this hot, young, science major stud who is also well good at football. He is in the band with Steve Buscemi
Oh.
on lead guitar.
Oh, no.
Gary Oldman on rhythm.
Oh.
Gary Busey on bass.
I knew it.
And Tyler Perry as Medea on drums.
And are they popular with high schoolers, or they're all in a high school?
They're high school students, obviously.
Okay.
They are acting. Jonathan, they are acting.
I see. Okay.
The trouble is, one day, Willem Dafoe, while doing science at school, is bitten by a radioactive spider.
Whoa.
Oh, shit.
Like Spider-Man?
That's what he said. The spider bites him and he goes, it's like Spider-Man. And he shakes it off, right? He's fine, Jonathan. He's not walking up walls. He's not accidentally shooting spunk out of his hands. Although that would be a good idea for a film. But one day, where they get their first big gig at the local bar in Sunnydale. This is a crossover in the Buffyverse.
It's in the Buffyverse, which
They're
I always
right.
Yeah.
It's like Prometheus. It's an indirect prequel to Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay.
Willem Dafoe opens his mouth to sing. They're going to do a cover of Venga Boy's Boom 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 Boom, I Want You in My Room, which is like what all the kids are listening to. He opens his mouth to sing, and dozens of spiders fly out of his mouth.
Oh, wow.
And they just fly into people's faces.
Oh.
And they're breathing in, and they make that noise, just...
Oh, yeah, I felt it.
Stopping. Oh, well, Willem Dafoe is just going... And the spiders are just coming out, and Steve Buscemi's like, what the fuck? And Medea is like, oh my god, I can't believe what you're doing with those spiders, you prick!
Tyler Perry couldn't do that voice if you paid him $1 trillion. He is not talented enough to... But anyway, I'm sorry.
That was a perfect Medea voice. That was the least racist Medea voice I can do.
Yeah, Tyler Perry does two voices, white and black.
Yeah.
And they're both ingenuine sounding. Anyway.
So pure chaos.
Yes.
But Willem Dafoe realizes he has a great gift. He can sing spiders. He can talk.
That's not a great gift.
He can talk just normally. But every time he tries to sing with his high school band called The Best Band.
I thought it was the Awesome Band.
The Awesome Best Band.
Yes, them.
Yes, them. That is the name of the band. Yes, them. Spiders fly out of his mouth. Loads of them. Jonathan.
Are they poisonous? What kind of spiders? Are they puke spiders? Are they?
They're just regular type. And Gary Busey at one point says, hey. Willem Dafoe, are those spiders poisonous or not? Geico. And Willem Dafoe goes, no, they're just regular type. And the moral of this film, of course, is with great power comes great trying to work out how to use the power of singing spiders. And that's the crux of the film. That's the internal conflict, is Willem Dafoe like, I've got this awesome gift.
It's not awesome.
I can sing spiders, but I don't know how. I can use this power for good. And
is the band still popular, or do people still see them live even though they know?
Well, this is another big thing, is they're gearing up for Battle of the Bands.
Oh, right.
And they're going to go up against the evil band called The Evil Band.
Okay.
Which is led by Danny DeVito. That's Danny DeVito, Weird Al Yankovic, and Brendan Fraser.
The three-man band, yeah.
Three-man, The Evil Band. Who play on bat-shaped guitars. So that you know that they are. So anyway, Willem Dafoe, you know, he realizes he's got this blessing. And he's confiding in his girlfriend, played by television's iCarly.
Oh, and what? What? She's like 17, right?
I don't know or
Something
care.
like that. Yeah, she's
this,
under 20.
Jonathan,
Sure.
this is art.
And
Some actors play down, some actors play up.
Okay.
It just so happens that iCarly is, she is a high schooler. She plays a high schooler on TV. It makes sense she'd do that in this, right? You see the logic?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
I do.
So Willem Dafoe, the 17-year-old high school chap in a band.
Sing spiders. Yeah.
He's singing spiders. He's just sat at the end of the bed in his boxer briefs.
Oh.
You just see his bacon flesh. And he's just, oh, iCarly. That's the name of his girlfriend. Oh, iCarly. I can sing spiders.
This is an emotional moment. This is a quiet, serious, potentially changing the direction of his life moment where he gets intimate and gets real. Yeah, he's getting real.
His girlfriend.
Yeah. Sure.
iCarly, I can sing spiders. I've got 8-legged vocal cords.
She knows this already. They're a hugely popular band, and he's already projected spiders on thousands of people. I mean, the concerts are not short. It's just not one song. It's like probably 45 minutes of him just going, and spiders. So everyone's been talking about it. The worldwide. And people in Japan are freaking out and terrified.
Well,
I'm sure. So he doesn't have to say to iCarly, guess what? I've got a new problem I need to share.
Audiences are forgetful.
Okay, you're right. All right. Sorry.
I got 8-legged vocal cords and there's nothing I can do. But I gotta use my gift for good. And then she says, I know you will do it, Willem Dafoe's character. I couldn't think of a name.
That's fine. He's playing himself. It's good.
You will work it out. Now let us make a love.
Oh no!
And then he starts kissing. He starts kissing iCarly, in slow motion, while emotional music comes up. Something like, I don't know, might be from Terminator. There might be scenes of slow motion of Willem Dafoe on top of iCarly just going.
Is he singing to her? Well,
no, he's just making love noise.
Oh, good. Phew, that would be gross.
And then there's there might be a shot of their hands together clutching the bed sheets in slow motion.
His wrinkly, veiny hands.
His wrinkly, veiny hands and her, I want to say tiny porcelain hands.
Yes.
And then he finishes just, oh, fuck, like that. And then
that's the worst.
And then he falls back, sweaty, a vein in the top of his head just very prominent. And then she just sort of plays with his erect nipple. And says, sing me a song like you did in the olden days. And then he looks at her and just goes, and just how fat, it's about the size of a cat. Black Widow just crawls out.
Oh, that's terrifying.
And then it and it's bleeding. It's just this bleeding Black Widow, and then it crawls in her mouth. And she swallows it, just like that, and you see the legs just sort of skittering into her mouth.
I bet you could see like a bulge in her neck too.
Oh yeah, she eats it the way a snake would eat an egg. She doesn't chew in one piece. We'll have to use obviously CGI. The neck expands like that. And then at the bottom of the screen, the word metaphor flashes, so that you know it is a metaphor for love.
A Black Widow spider, which is poisonous at small sizes. This one is
bleeding, a cat-sized bleeding. It's covered in weeping sores. And it crawls in.
Oh.
And then she says, I love you. And then he says, spiders. And then the credits roll, and that's the end of the movie.
You don't find out how he uses his power for good?
You don't find out how he uses his powers for good. I will admit that. I will also cop to the fact that you never get a resolution for the Battle of the Bands,
Mm.
nor the subplot in which Steve Buscemi finds out that he's now got an octopus for a penis. That plot is just kind of introduced halfway through the film in one scene, and then it's never mentioned again.
How would Steve Buscemi let us know? How would that scene play out?
He will be in the toilet at the high school. He goes up to the urinal, unzips, pulls his penis out. We don't see it, we're tasteful. We hear the tinkle tinkle, and then he just looks up and says, haha, Fargo was a good film.
Functioning octopus penis.
Puts his penis back in his jeans, zips up, washes his hands, because we're hygiene conscious.
Sure.
And then he just says, wait a minute, my penis was an octopus. And then we cut back to Willem Dafoe having sex with iCarly. That happens halfway through the sex scene. And the sex scene, obviously, oh god, I want to say it lasts about 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
With the Terminator tune on loop.
That'd be a rough watch.
Awkwardly cut on loop. Like it half fades out and then suddenly starts up again because obviously I ripped the sound file from YouTube.
So you made the movie, too.
I'm attached as the sound director for this one.
I see. That's the only role you'd be cut out for.
Yeah.
Not the writer.
I'm there to make the noises for the spiders. A bit like Frank Welker. You know, I make spider noises like ruff, 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 ruff.
Yeah, those dog barking spiders, yeah. There's a dog spider, I think, yeah. Brown spiders coming out of a man's mouth. Going on people's faces. It's real nightmare stuff, Jim. It's a real terrifying...
That's really not my intention. It's supposed to be a superhero origin film, like the Dark Knight Rises with romance.
It comes off like a sure to be a hit horror, just terror. Not even horror, just sheer nausea, terror inducing. It would be real trouble to watch. Yeah.
That having sheer nausea, terror inducing wouldn't look good on the poster. Although I assume that Podtoid regular listener Sir Toby will use that as the quote on the inevitable poster I hope he makes.
He may. That's a challenge. I don't know if he'll. He's pretty busy lately.
I sing a song of spiders.
And it's not. I guess it is of spiders. It's made of spiders.
Yeah, the song is spiders.
Mm.
That's the tagline. What would you do if your song was spiders?
No one has ever wondered that before. No one has ever been like, huh, hypothetically speaking, what if my song was made of spiders? Oh, that would be a challenge. I'd have to do something good with it.
Well, it would be... I mean, it's not one of those things you instantly think of, but then when you hear about it, surely the thought will cross your mind, well, damn, what would I do in that situation?
I would just never sing. It's that simple. Just, okay, more singing, I guess.
But then if you don't sing, Danny DeVito and the Evil Band will win the Battle of the Bands.
They're probably going to win anyway, because when I sing, people get bit by spiders instead of listening to music. That's what happens. So.
But Jonathan, they got bat-shaped guitars. You're going to let them get away with that?
I just play drums. I'd get Medea on vocals or something, and I'd take up the skins.
Fair enough. Conrad Zimmerman, you've remained intensely quiet.
Yeah, it's a hard time.
Well, I've just been sitting here thinking about Willem Dafoe.
Sure.
And yeah, we all have, and I'm wondering if there is room for a Willem Dafoe film about an actor whose agent starts receiving movie pitches from some mysterious individual and he can't believe that they're real, and they just become increasingly more perverse and desperate and strange. And then suddenly people who are working on sets that Dafoe's working at are having accidents, and things are happening, and it's just Dafoe. You know, it's just because Dafoe, obviously he's too busy. He's too busy, and he needs to get his schedule cleared. And, you know, and just slowly progressing up into, you know, one of those big violent showdowns. I mean, I know it's a little cliche, but I think there's something there. I can't really say what inspired it.
Yeah.
I think the inspiration. I don't know. I thought I saw it.
But
It would be interesting if he ever
I would
found
like to
out.
call that film The Page Master.
And obviously, for a film like that, you would want to cast like Willem Dafoe. You get him. Clearly, the role is tailored for him to play the psychopath. I mean,
Yeah. I'm
obvious.
thinking maybe for the role of Willem Dafoe, Robert Englund.
Oh, there you go.
A New
Oh, there
Nightmare.
you go. That's fantastic. Robert
Indeed.
Englund is such an underrated actor.
He was good
yeah.
in Zombie Strippers.
Yes.
He was really damn good in what's it? Vernon? No, something Vernon. Leslie Vernon, I think.
Never
It was
saw that.
it's a mockumentary about a film crew that's coming to film the life of a serial killer who lives his life in a universe where Jason and Freddy and Michael Myers are actual people.
Huh.
It's a very clever film. It sounds so stupid. It sounds like something I'd
You're
come
right.
up with.
But I
It's a lot more smart than it sounds. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Just this casual, happy serial killer who's lining up his first kill, but he's got to obey the cliches of the serial killer movie genre, because that's the unwritten rule. It's very Cabin in the Woods in intent, in the idea of it's deconstructing the slasher genre, but it plays out differently. And as someone who was a bit disappointed with Cabin, yourself, Jonathan, I would recommend giving it a try. I think it's called Leslie Vernon.
Okay.
Behind the Mask. Definitely worth checking out because it's a funny film, and Robert Englund's in it, playing not playing Freddy, playing a different character, but he is really good in it.
Sounds like Scream, but good.
I'm going to say Robert Englund was probably the bright spot of Killer Tongue.
I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a lesser known one, and I'm not actually going to recommend, unlike what Jim suggested, I'm not necessarily going to recommend you go see Killer Tongue, but if you were to watch Killer Tongue, do it with a lot of alcohol and a bunch of friends. You know, the same way you watch the most vulgar of pornography. Because
I get sleepy after one small drink of alcohol. For the
you
most
want to
part.
make sure that there are other people to join in appreciating your shame. But he's one of the bright spots in a film that has a scene involving Otto Cunnilingus.
Otto Cunnilingus? Like a car?
I did say the movie was called Killer Tongue.
Right. Otto meaning in that.
Performed on self.
Oh, right. How do you do that?
Yeah. I think your tongue has to be inhabited by an alien that was trapped in a meteorite which crashed to Earth, and a portion of which landed in your soup, and then you consumed it.
That sounds good.
And then parts of which also went to your poodles, which transformed them into flamboyantly not drag queen, but just flamboyantly homosexual in that sort of cliche sense, very muscly and then femmy.
Poodles, though.
Yeah, they were poodles.
Now they're dudes?
Now they're dudes.
Sounds great. Thumbs up so far. Yeah.
Actually, there's a lot of charm to it, but the opening credits are all in Spanish, and it just does not leave a good first impression. You're like, oh God, what have I gotten myself into?
Why are the opening credits all in Spanish, you think?
I don't know. It's a really weird movie. The plot is that this girl who winds up with the tongue, like there's a very important plot involving the plot is about her and her boyfriend reuniting after they robbed some group and then betrayed the two people who'd helped them do it.
Huh.
And then he goes down for it, but she manages to escape and hides in a convent that runs a gas station.
This
You
movie
still with
sounds
me?
so good. Are you
Still
kidding
with me?
me? Yeah,
Okay.
this sounds great.
All right. So the guy, his sentence winds up with his sentence spent on a chain gang that's run by Robert Englund,
Okay.
is a guy with a bad toupee, and he's kind of, I mean, he's nuts. He's absolutely crazy. And then it doesn't really, the film's not really good for gay stereotypes either, to be
Doesn't
perfectly
sound it.
honest.
Yeah.
No, it's not. He is a closet homosexual, and is has all of the, he tries them drag this big latrine around with him.
What?
That has the chain gang. They install power lines or telephone lines,
Okay.
and as they travel, they drag along this latrine that is his private latrine, and the walls of it are all covered with gay porn.
Whoa. This is a very angry or in love with or both
Yeah,
at gay
it is
people
just.
movie.
I don't know what this film actually is.
Yeah, killer tongue.
Because it has some of these like celebrate fabulousness moments that you'd see, like in a Priscilla Queen of the Desert or whatever. But then there's some like weird creepy overtones and I mean, this guy is sort of a disgusting human being, but then why is that like is why are they shaming him? Yeah, and it's just weird.
Yeah. Huh. I got to see it for myself.
But it does have a couple, especially if you're not very politically correct. Does have a few very funny jokes that are unexpected.
I look forward to watching it, and I'll find it somehow. Can't be
Yeah,
too
it's
hard.
not hard to find. It's like $5 on Amazon, I betcha.
Killer tongue.
Killer tongue.
All right.
Let's all
Will
watch
do.
it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
well-
$5 on Amazon, did EA say that they're going to go fully digital soon? Is that what they said?
It's not like they were saying they have a plan. They were just saying they expect, like, it's coming in the near future, that all their money will come from digital, which is great.
Near future?
I can't wait. I can't wait. EA's so good.
I mean, if they mean in 20 years, sure. But if they mean in 5 years,
I think they mean sooner than 20.
how could that be? Is that possible at all that that'll happen?
I don't know. I think it comes from the same mentality that said 3D gaming will be the biggest thing that everyone does.
Yeah. I
People
remember
get
that.
very excited about new ways of doing things, and then the hyperbole comes out. I think it's going to be a while yet before retail goes anywhere. I mean, there are still people that have standard def televisions.
Sure, absolutely. Digital is not that new, though. I mean, and it's got a place, but so does retail, because there's people that just wander around at stores still.
I mean,
As
it's
long as
still
that happens.
relatively new. I mean, it's not.
Well, and broadband hasn't penetrated yet where the internet service is reliable enough and affordable enough in enough areas that they could run the risk of being digital only. The market penetration, especially with their DRM requirements and always on connectivity requirements, that won't fly. It will not work.
Absolutely not. We've got data restrictions coming in more and more from ISPs. American companies, being American companies, won't update the fucking broadband infrastructure underneath us all. Shit's outdated. Shit is not going to change until there's a lot of competition coming from other ISPs doing it better, which is difficult to happen because of the monopoly we've got. The whole internet situation is in a bit of a state.
Right.
And,
well, that's exactly
yeah.
like Sony buying Gaikai, and and I knew once that story hit that there would be people in some quarters who would start saying "OMG, PS4 Streambox only," which is just about the dumbest thing you could. But and no, we're nowhere.
I hope they don't
near
do
that.
it. I wonder though.
Sony will provide it as an option on that box.
It
Absolutely.
but it has
And
to be an option.
Yes, it has to be an option. And God bless them. I'm almost certain. If they don't have it available at launch, for that next console. They're just shooting themselves in the foot where that's concerned. Gaikai works well now. I know everything Sony's got has to have its own weird thing associated with it, but by and large, for its purposes, Gaikai works now. So it shouldn't be too much to expect that they have something like this available for people to buy into as part of a PlayStation Plus subscription or something when the next piece of hardware comes along. Because, Gaikai, it was going to be put in everything. And that's the other advantage to Sony owning Gaikai, whole part and parcel. Sure. Now they can put control over Gaikai going into televisions, Gaikai going into other devices. And that's the other significant element to remember. It goes far beyond just control of the console.
Right. Well, Sony, as far as back as the PlayStation, they've wanted to have, and our console does this other awesome thing that you probably wanted. Anyway.
Well, that's the Microsoft philosophy too. For them, It's about the battle of the living room.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they both want to be the box that everyone turns on when they come in and turn on a box in their living room.
You got to go back to the iPad in the thing that does it all. Has the market share.
True. But then the PSP tried to do it all too, and people just were like, eh.
Yeah, but then Sony made the PSP.
Well, and it was everything. It seemed like everything that they promised with the PSP came off halfway.
That's why I said Sony made it. Sony are great at wanting to do everything, but and no disrespect, they make some fine technology, but
they do make phenomenal hardware.
When it comes to the features in it, they are half-assed. They don't quite know what they're doing. The PS3, still a beautiful machine.
I always walk away from buying a Sony product feeling like I made a good investment. Now, I mean, that's the moment I walk away. And,
Wow.
6 months down the road, I might look back, I might reflect on that and think, well, this was a poor purchasing decision in general, maybe. I didn't get as much use out of this as I thought I did. But for what it promised to have, whether or not I decided to use that, the potential of the hardware, I always feel good whenever I buy a Sony product because they have such a talent for making great hardware.
I love having Sony stuff. The only problem is it
you have to
sits
use
on
Sony stuff, or
I mean, I've got a PlayStation Vita. Love a PlayStation Vita. It's in my drawer in my desk, and when I put my hand on my desk, I can feel heat. Just this burning heat, because I know it's there, and I want to use it, but I can't, because it's Sony's. And I've got no cause to turn it on. And it's part of the reason why I'm sitting here and regularly on Twitter badger Sony and beg them to hurry up with the PS1 classics, because then at least I can play Final Fantasy IX on it. And then I'll sit here thinking, I'm holding a great Sony product. Granted, I'm playing a game that is fucking old, but I'm happy to be doing it because I love Sony's stuff.
That's the Holmes thing, with the 3DS on the couch. Yes, you and your wife on the couch, and you get to enjoy your game experience, and that's a great thing.
Sure,
that's a great thing to appreciate. And as soon as they have software, as soon as the Vita has a lot of software, a large enough software library that could be appreciable, I think that's where it's going to be at.
Yeah, the fighting games in particular, they're going to get the best version of Street Fighter X, Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and also the PlayStation All-Stars. I'll probably be playing that on Vita as opposed to PS3, but yeah, I don't know.
But then the Wii U's going to come along, and then, it's all over.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I wonder, the Wii U, I have this sense that third parties are going to fail to recognize that what people want is just to play the games on the controller. I'm not sure you could play Batman Arkham City just on the controller.
Wait, you mean to tell me they're going to do almost exactly the same thing they did the last time Nintendo released a console?
So far, so bad. Yeah, I know. I shouldn't be surprised.
Don't draw me back, because I will go on a rant again about fucking Batman. The childish, infantile way in which they're putting it on the Wii U. It's what a child would do, Jonathan and Conrad. It's what a child would do.
I was feigning politeness because I don't like to just insult a man. That's no fun. But when I played it at E3, I was really like, so what's the part that's good? When, I'm gonna buy it again, right? So that's because you did what? And he's like, now you can control the Batarang with the touchscreen. I'm like, I don't want to know.
Yeah, I think I preferred it when I pressed a button and it automatically targeted, and I didn't have to fuck around because I'm Batman and I don't fuck around.
Yeah, I thought those thoughts, but and maybe it makes for a better video to be mean, but what's that going to accomplish? It's not
Well,
that
the
guy's
fact of the
fault.
matter is that I'm playing a game where I get to fantasize that I am the goddamn Batman, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the whole point of Arkham
I
City.
am not, however, actually the goddamn Batman. And
No.
it seems to me that in order to successfully, repeatedly, consistently navigate controlling a Batarang on a screen and looking up and down might require me to actually be the goddamn Batman to do.
It's going to draw attention to the fact that you're not Batman, that you have to
I'm
do
not
that.
Batman.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's the
And I
last thing
want
you
to
want
be
to remind.
Batman. That's why I'm playing the goddamn game.
Yeah,
When you make a game, you have to ask yourself the question, is this Batman? And if the answer to that question is, it's so not Batman,
The
don't
point
do it.
the point of a Batman game is to make you feel power easily.
right.
Now, you can provide people with, and you must, I think, make Batman weak. But you have to easily provide an opportunity for power because it's a power fantasy.
Sure. Yeah. He's interesting because if he sucks, he's going to get beat up. But if you make it fairly simple to be the badass side of Batman, then you feel pretty great. As opposed to
Right.
Superman, who just can't get hurt and is boring.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you certainly don't want to be drawing the player to focus on, wait, I'm not Batman. I'm some doofus holding a controller and I suck at this.
Well, that's my
You don't want to do that.
problem with a lot of motion control and gimmicky touch control. I want to draw a distinction between, touch by necessity and touch by gimmick. It takes you out of the game. I was
Right.
seeing people playing Zombie U, and they had to frequently stop playing the game in order to move the Wii U controller around to do something. They were doing something with it. I don't know if they were pretending they had a camera or a scope or something. But in order to do that, I don't care. It's not immersive. That's the opposite. It takes you out.
I think immersion is quickly becoming, or has become, the myth of motion control. And then the problem there is now. Motion control was supposed to open up the audience, and maybe it did. And maybe there are a bunch of people that genuinely like playing motion control games.
Kinect's doing pretty well, yeah.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, that has shown some measure of success, but we can't be replacing, this. It's not, it's people who are familiarly available, or I'm sorry, the people who are already familiar with controllers and buttons. That is natural.
Yeah.
It's the most natural.
I'll show you a fucking immersive game. Diablo, SimCity. Games where it's just pointing and clicking and looking at menus.
And that's not just natural to us, though. It's consistent. That's the important part.
Exactly. It's something you can get lost in. You get lost in it, absorbed. Sorry.
Once you become comfortable using a controller, you're comfortable using a controller for just about anything which isn't almost deliberately designed poorly at this point. I mean, really, it's once you have some comfort with the idea that, it's a lot of buttons, and it's not a small hurdle, I don't think, for people who are wholly unfamiliar to these things. But if you can handle the idea of most of these games have the same layouts, so you really only have to learn about 5 different layouts, I would suspect.
I think it's a myth. I think it's a myth that controllers confuse casual gamers. I mean, we need to remember that Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty are casual games, in that a lot of people that don't play other games will play those games.
Sure.
And
true.
They've got fucking controllers, buttons, plenty of buttons. Have you seen cars? Most people drive cars. Have you seen the amount of shit in a car? If they can handle that, they can handle a fucking Xbox controller. If they can handle most remote controls
hang on.
now...
I would like to point out the number of deaths in the United States
Dude,
related
vehicular homicide.
accident.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not saying that people are stupid
No,
and
but I'm
people
saying
aren't
maybe
stupid.
they don't know how to do this as well as you think they do.
They might
Well,
not know how to control the
the
car.
point is people think buttons and controllers are threatening to the audience. Well, that's what I'm talking about.
I don't think
I
there's
think maybe they should be more threatening, then we'd get less idiots driving. But most drivers will see all those buttons and they feel good in that car. And most of them can easily pick up a fucking controller, judging by the amount of people that play PES and Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto without problems.
okay.
Pez?
It's a simple, but okay, an automatic transmission. Okay, it's one wheel, a key, a shift, a brake, and a gas. It's 5 things.
Mm.
Keep track of.
Yeah, if you're a prick, if you're a real person, you've got Bluetooth in there, you've got satellite radio, you've got...
I know, but I'm just referring to what's necessary to successfully accomplish the task of driving from one place to another. Those are the mechanics. Whatever else you decide to throw in to complicate your own experience is your own problem.
Most people
But I'm
will do
referring
it, though.
to the 5 things that you need to be able to do to get your car to go from point A to point B. Now you look at a controller and a video game, and let's say Call of Duty as an example, okay? How many buttons, knobs, and things are you going to have to use? And now Call of Duty's first mission trains you. That's why it does it, because they need it to be accessible to a wide enough audience, and they need to lay out in the most simple and available terms exactly how everything functions.
Yeah, shoot those watermelons.
But that's the point.
That's why we've become so adept at learning to do that, and we shouldn't be thinking about abandoning. Yeah, nobody's thinking about abandoning controllers for motion controls at this point. I don't think this is still all. Hey, we're going to cash in now because Microsoft has been successful enough to get this stuff out there. I don't see an effort that I don't see an effort. Or many efforts, I should say. There are very few efforts for Kinect that have been released where I can say this person who developed this says, I am proud of this product. This is a great product.
Yeah.
It's sad, isn't it?
I'll tell you what, that's the fucking irony of it, though. I played Steel Battalion, and that was the most alienating, confusing, and scary experience, because giving me nothing... That's more confusing and frightening, I think, than giving me a controller with buttons on it. Because it's so vague. It works in some fucking shitty, cheapoid sports game where it's just wave your arms like a fucking spaz and stuff will happen on the screen. You know, you can trick most guppies with that shit. But as soon as you try and give them an immersive experience, I found it physically and emotionally upsetting.
Well, if you look at the best-selling Wii games, Mario Kart, which you can just play with traditional controls, or at most it's just steering wheel controls, which everyone's familiar with already, and New Super Mario Bros. Wii, which is just an NES game. And to me, that's proven that just using traditional controls but with fewer buttons, NES style, That's why when I saw the Wii, I was like, that's pretty cool, motion controls. And they're like, or you can play it like an NES. I was like, sign me up. I want that option. I don't want every game to be like that, but I want the option, just 2 buttons. Keep it simple. It's fun.
There's a reason why, even on a system like, again, I keep bringing it up, but the iPad, iPhone, and whatnot, a lot of games have virtual joysticks and virtual buttons on the screen.
But not too many buttons, just 2 buttons. And then a virtual control pad.
Some of them get pretty complex.
Oh, really?
Like I said, I'm playing a Gears of War clone, and there's a reason why they still have them, because it still works. These controls work. People know them, and I think it's a myth that your quote unquote casual gamer is frightened by a controller.
Frightened is too strong. I know a lot of people who say it makes me feel bad to hold that thing because I feel like a nerd now, because nerds like buttons. There's some nerd hate going on with people who don't want to identify as quotes gamers unquotes, and that's everyone we call casual gamers, they call themselves normal people, and they call us a bunch of nerds, and I still get that plenty. But an NES style controller, they're less put off by, and touchscreens, they're less put off by. Motion controls, they're like, oh, that's fun at parties. But no, you're not going to do that on a regular basis because that's weird. That's my beat from the street, talking to the people out there, what they want.
You are the man with his ear to the ground.
Sure. Yes.
Yep.
Ha.
Questions?
Let's do them.
Yeah? Let's do them up.
Shall we?
Stygian says, have you ever thought about shaving off your mustache, Conrad? And have you considered the consequences in doing so?
Oh.
Well, no. I've actually I don't. I mean, there's that one occasional thought of, hey, yeah, I wonder what it'd be like to feel cold air on my lip again. But no, I really like my mustache, and
It's a great mustache.
I think if I shaved it off, then such a big deal has been made of my mustache at this point that if it goes, it has to go forever, and then I always have to shave.
Right. Then you have to do that every day.
And I can be incredibly lazy about stuff that doesn't matter to me. And I've got to level with you.
Sure, me too.
Shaving, not high. Not high.
What if you get mustache bald, like I got hair bald? That would be so sad. If
That
you
would
just
be
start,
sad.
yeah, I'd feel so sad for you. Because my
What if
hair.
What if it happened from the outside in? Oh, how terrible would that be?
Whoa, what does that mean exactly?
Like if it started, like my baldness started at the outer edges of my mouth and slowly worked their way in.
Oh, a receding mustache line. Oh, then you just have a weird, close to your nose mustache at the end. Oh,
God. Oh, just this little strip of just this little tiny square of black underneath my nose. It would be
that would be a real shame. I hope that never happens.
That would be bad. That would be bad.
You would look exactly like Charlie Chaplin.
Exactly. And nobody wants to remember that, okay?
It is a black mark.
It was a dark time.
Yeah.
Never forget, but try and move on. Wear a ribbon. Maybe. Okay, good question. Gunner226 despises what Activision did to Radical Entertainment. He says, it breaks my heart. Do you ever see this stopping in the future, or will it be a large, never-ending cycle of layoffs and tears?
I don't even know about that. What did Activision do to Radical Entertainment?
Prototype 2 was the best-selling game in North America of April, but still wasn't good enough for Activision, wasn't commercially viable enough. So now Radical Entertainment can't make games anymore, and they're more or less done.
Huh. Man, that keeps happening.
Keeps happening.
Yeah, I think it's indicative of how much games cost to make and to market these days, and how it's heading in a bad direction, which makes me worried about the next Microsoft and PlayStation consoles. I hope their main gimmick or main selling point isn't, wow, look how expensive our games are now. I hope they find something else to make it viable to buy those consoles, because games don't need to be more expensive than this, and it's killing the industry in a lot of ways. It's
and
worrisome.
Speaking to that point, both from the cost to manufacture a game to the cost of consuming a game, because Prototype, it's unfortunate, and I totally understand Gunner's sentiment. It is I thought Prototype 2 was a great game, and I really enjoyed playing it, but I rented it. I didn't know going in if I was going to get $60 of enjoyment out of Prototype 2.
Sure.
And in the end, I do think I probably made the right decision. It was an enjoyable game. I had a lot of fun playing it, but $60 is a big asking price for that game. And so, the game has to meet a certain high expectation level, I think, to make high sales numbers.
It has to be. I think that we're at a space now where there's millions of people that consider themselves a part of gamer culture, and there are games in that culture that you have to buy the day it comes out, or else you're missing out on what everyone is doing and talking about. So if you're not one of those games, if you're Kingdoms of Amalur and you only get 1.3 million sales instead of 5 or 6 million because it's what everybody's got to play at that point, then you're
But here's
screwed.
the other side of this. I have to give Activision some credit because there is a prototype too.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
they were trying to, I think, in some ways, affect the same kind of sense of testing new IP that EA has managed to successfully demonstrate, such as with the Redwood Shores studio and Dead Space, which has become a fantastic property for them.
Hmm.
And they took a chance on one game, and it did well. But did it do blockbuster amazing well? It did well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they make Dead Space 2. And because it's about the second game, and they at least have the presence of mind to think that to know that a new IP is going to struggle in a marketplace, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the ideas are bad. Does it mean that you really do have to put forth your best effort right out the gate on that first game and then do it again the second time? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I just don't want
Yeah.
them to cost so much. I think about No More Heroes, which sold 500,000 copies, and they're like, awesome, gonna make a sequel. Then they make a sequel and it sells like 300,000 copies, and they're like, great, gonna do a third one. I mean, they're happy with that,
Well,
and
they're
those are fun
smart. I
games.
mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the big budget space is becoming a mess. I'm
Yeah.
surprised it works for as long as it has.
Hmm.
It's become bloated, excessive. It's become to the point where studios can't survive doing the one thing they're supposed to exist to do, and
Hmm.
that's ridiculous. We've had this come up a lot. We've had Radical, we had the 38 Studios Amalur stuff, which I grant had some very special circumstances. We had
Amalur was a weird deal.
that was
I
a
don't
weird
even know if we
deal.
can include that in anything that pertains to the regular goings on of this business. That was just strange.
Well, then you
The
had the LA Noir dudes.
LA
Who was
Noir
that again?
Team
Team
Bondi,
Bondi. Yeah.
Eat Sleep Play downsized and now does mobile games after doing Twisted Metal. We see this a lot, and I do worry that we're looking at a new generation where games are looking to be even more expensive and even more graphically amazing. And all I can advise the gamer is stop falling in love and being fans of any developer in the $60 game market, because you can't guarantee they'll be around unless their name is Infinity Ward or Rockstar.
Hmm.
As far as I can see, if it happens, if there's some fucking nuclear style disaster that hits the industry, it's the guys making your Legend of Grimrocks, it's the guys making your Amnesias. These are the guys that are going to stick around. They are like the little, and I say this not to be insulting, they are cockroaches. And I say that in terms of their survivability, and that they're the little guys scurrying around, surviving on their own terms. And if something ever hit the industry in a big way, they're the guys that will still be left.
Right.
I actually, this is true. I have a cockroach tattoo on my body for that
Whoa.
very reason.
Wow.
That's
That is a
because I
surprise.
firmly yeah, well, no, I believe that when the end comes, that's the thing that no matter what is going to still be standing around. And that's
Sure.
something that I've always personally aspired to be, is that no matter what came down, to still be that thing that's there. And that's who those people are going to be for games. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And let us not forget that the next Amnesia game is going to be called A Machine for Pigs, which is the best name ever for a game. Because it sounds so fucked up and weird, and I love it.
I didn't know that. That's exciting.
Yeah, but I mean, I get excited when I think about that, the PC small scale scene, because those are the guys winning on their own terms.
Hmm.
And I'm sorry, this whole idea of games have to cost $60 it's an attitude that's going to cost a lot more money than it makes in the long term. It'll make them short term cash, but very few games, I think, in the future are going to be able to charge $60, and their name is Call of Duty.
Yeah, and even that, I mean, I'm really interested to see.
There are many games where all I can think is why is this not $40 or even $30 and sometimes $20? Because I'd rather have a game that is selling less, like for less money, than a game no one's buying because it costs too much.
Sure. I wonder how long Call of Duty is going to stick around. I think of them as like Poison. You know the rock and roll group Poison? I mean, there was a time which is like, Poison? Yeah, everybody Poison right now. Let's all poison. And then after a while, people were like, yeah, I'm done poisoning. It's like 10 years of Poison, I think, and then just no more Poison. It's not like they got older.
Hang on, I'm sorry. I got
like,
distracted for a second. Did you say the Willem Dafoe Poison?
No, that would be good. I'm still doing
good.
that Poison all the time.
Okay. All right. Okay.
It's a great song. I think about it almost too much.
It's in my head every day.
Me too. Wow, I didn't know that about you. Yeah. No, I'm talking about Brett Michaels, I think is the lead singer.
Okay, of Poison.
CC DeVille.
Yeah.
They're these bands that are good, and people love them a lot because everyone else loves them a lot, and that's just what you do. And then eventually people are like, now we all love this. And then Cinderella's really popular after that, or Pearl Jam. Could be Pearl Jam. No one cares about Pearl Jam.
The songs aren't always bad.
No, they're good. Call of Duty is a good series, but it's gonna have its Pearl Jam fade out at some point. Like everything does. Yeah. Right. Jeez, I feel like I've talked too much when we should have done questions. I'm sorry. Talking about Pearl Jam. My bad.
That's all right. You're giving me time to find stuff.
That's what I thought I was doing.
Sir Toby, the lovely Sir Toby. He just saw The Amazing Spider-Man. He liked it. Movie Bob hated it. I saw his review earlier today. Apparently he was gearing up to hate it for a long time, though. Absolutely despised it. But, well. He wants to know, I think we've answered this before, but I always do like talking about it. He wants to know what our favourite supervillain is, preferably from Spider-Man. But if you haven't got one, I'd say list your favourite villain and then just your favourite Spider-Man villain, just to make Toby happy.
Whoa, that's hard. I was thinking a lot about how much I like villains these days. And I don't like rooting for villains per se, but they're just much more interesting to pick apart.
Yeah.
Darn, that's hard. It's my favorite Spider-Man villain. Is Madam Web a villain? No, I guess not. She's just an old woman who...
I think she's kind of in between, isn't she?
I just like that she exists, that a man named Spider-Man happens to meet a woman who's named Madam Web. Like, how'd you become Madam Web? She's like, it's a long story. It's got nothing to do with you. I just also happen to be a spider person, and I can tell the future, and I wear a blindfold. So I like Madam Web, but she's not really a villain. I really like the first Dr. Octopus story, because he's just like Spider-Man. Like the whole idea of Dr. Octopus at first was like, well, a spider has 8 legs, but come on, you can just step on him. An octopus has 8 legs and it'll kick your ass. So this guy will kick Spider-Man's ass. He's like an actual good Spider-Man. Like, as a man is to a doctor, a spider is to an octopus. It's just better. It's like better, Dr. Octopus. And he just kicks the crap out of Spider-Man in the first story. He just totally loses, and Spider-Man's really cocky about it. So, yeah, I like Dr. Octopus. I'll just go with that for now.
Cool. Conrad.
Yes.
Oh, gosh. Well, let's see. For Spider-Man, I mean, that opens you up to all sorts of bizarre Marvel opportunities. And,
I know. There's so many, right?
Yeah, it's really, I think, I mean, Venom is a little kind of stock answer. He's not that interesting, I don't think.
The whole symbiote angle is interesting, though.
It's interesting, but I think it's interesting in amongst the symbiotes. Like, the relationship between Carnage and Venom, that is a familial relationship. The relationship between Venom and Spider-Man is more of a parent divorced, whatever. I don't see a whole lot of substance there.
Punisher was initially a Spider-Man villain.
Punisher's a great villain.
Mm-hmm.
Punisher's a great anti-hero, protagonist, villain, whatever you want to call him. I think he's really interesting character. And I like that they always seem to, or at least every time I've read Punisher, they always seem to put him in a position of, really questionable moral, and there's no question for him ever. Like, just ever. He's such a simple guy. It's amazing.
I love him in position like to position him against someone like Spider-Man, who's always like, should I be a dick or not? I could, and Punisher's just like, immediately, I will be a dick, and just kills
Right.
whoever he wants. And that's a great foil. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll go with Punisher. Actually, I think he's fantastic.
Oh, cool. I'm glad I helped you with
Oh,
that. Yeah. Fun.
Best villain overall for me is Scarecrow. I like Halloween imagery anyway, and I do love the idea of fear, because he's not a physical villain in any way whatsoever.
So it's DC Scarecrow, not
Well,
Marvel Scarecrow.
DC Scarecrow for overall villain.
Right.
Yeah, overall villain. I mean, I'm in the Batman canon too.
Who isn't?
Yeah.
And I also love the more recent idea of Scarecrow being the only thing he's afraid of is bats, but because he's so addicted to fear, he seeks Batman out anyway. It's like you gotta respect a man that can do that, especially with no actual superpowers. But in a similar vein, my favourite Spider-Man villain has for a long time been Mysterio.
Oh, he's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I love villains as well. I find them very fascinating. I always love a pathetic villain, and there's something intensely pitiful about Quentin Beck.
I mean, if he had been created today, he would be an internet troll. He'd be a hacker. He would. Mysterio would be a LulzSec member.
Yeah, he's just false pretenses and getting people to feel secure and then screwing them over. Yeah.
I've actually been reading some of the recent Spider-Mans where Quentin Beck's come back as this, and I love the character. Like, he's a bitter, angry failure. And I also love that his superpower is convincing everyone he's got superpowers. It's a great idea, and even
it's
when
really cool.
Yeah, and I love that they found new ways to make that interesting, because once you...
And I think he would have fit into the Raimi-verse far better than Sandman did.
Yeah. I got so angry they never made Spider-Man 4, because did you hear what they were potentially planning?
Oh, please.
No. What were they planning?
I get chills thinking about it, and I get furious thinking about it, because it's never going to happen now. They were potentially at one point planning to have Mysterio as the villain in Spider-Man 4, played by Bruce Campbell.
Oh, wow.
And the Bruce Campbell cameos in the earlier films
were
going to be Quentin Beck.
Whoa.
And I thought that would have been fantastic.
Yeah. That would have been great.
It's a great idea, but obviously never happened. But yeah, he's my favourite guy. I like illusion-y type characters anyway, like more mental than physical.
Sure.
And he just has all the right stuff, and he just looks awesome. Like, he looks so stupid, but carries it so well that it kind of looks awesome. You got to respect a man that wears a giant glass ball for a head.
A little eyeball buckles for his cape.
Yeah, very camp and showy, and it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's stylish. For people, and I've suggested this comic before on Podtoid, but just in case, if you want to see Mysterio's shining moment, you should read Old Man Logan comic book. It's collected. It's my favorite Wolverine comic book, and it's also in some ways my favorite Mysterio comic book. Now that I think about it, so that's a recommendation.
Old Man Logan.
Yep.
I'll do that, because I've only recently been getting... I've always followed comics. It was mostly reading about characters on Wikipedia, as I think a lot of people do. And it wasn't till... And I feel like such a shill for saying it, but I got my iPad. And started reading digital comics, which I find just a lot more digestible. I found it less alienating, so I've started getting into them, and I'll see if they've got Old Man Logan.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, I was reading the more recent Amazing Spider-Mans, and I started, as I say, because I'm a fan of his, I started with Mysterio's big comeback.
I was so resistant to the idea of owning, an e-reader, or an e-book device of some sort that, was a physical device dedicated for the purpose of reading books and storing books. And, because I love books. I love the things that are physical and tangible about books, and the things that you can only do when you're turning a page, and there's a certain amount of romance and so forth. And then I started downloading books to my tablet, and it's like, why did I ever resist this at all? Like,
Yeah.
I had problems. I had problems with it until I got the complete works of H.P. Lovecraft for free.
Yeah.
And then it's like, this is awesome, and it's still free. You can get it on the Amazon Kindle store. It costs nothing. It's public domain, motherfucker.
That's the other thing too. There are the wealth of public domain books out there. I mean, you could read forever and great stuff.
Yeah, it's just there for you. I got to get one of those iPads. I don't know why I have this weird. It's just a big iPhone to me, which just seems like a joke or something. but they're
just a blunt write-off of that. It's a joke.
But from practically speaking, they're great. They've got great games on it. They're you can use them for multiple different things. It's I know it's good, but just have this weird instinct against it. I have to get over that.
I had to be shanghaied into using its functions. It's like, well, I have the thing. What do I use it for? Oh, here's all these things I can use it for. I'll try this. I'll try this. I'll try this. I'll try this. You know, I didn't buy the thing. I didn't acquire the thing to do most any of the shit I do with it now.
I just want one for cheap. Are they $50 yet? I'll buy one for like $75.
You can probably get a Generation 1 for a decent price.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, sorry to hold. More questions or no questions?
I'd say we're about wrapped up.
We did them.
That was a lovely little podcast.
I enjoyed it a lot. Conrad, I love your contributions to the show. I can just sit back and listen to you and Jim talk, and I don't feel any sort of need to butt in. It's very interesting.
And I love Jim's contributions to Uranus, John.
I don't. Why would anyone love Jim contributing to my anus? Why would anyone
I live to contribute to your anus.
Well,
right. Do you see what joy it brings to Jim's life? Don't you want that for
Jonathan, I am the anal gift that keeps on anal giving.
This is true. I've been in a room with Jim overnight. You know what's up.
Damn right. Your squeaky hole will never be the same again.
Well, it won't be squeaky at least.
No. It got the grease.
Wow. So
that was a good bunch of things we said, Jonathan, wasn't it?
Yeah, way to end it classy. Yeah.
I puzzle over it. I puzzle over because sometimes people think like, oh, Jim's bullying Jonathan, so I'm going to bully him on Twitter too and be mean to him, and I'm like, that's not what Jim does. And then other times they're like, I'm going to make Jonathan horny and talk about his nipple. Like, no, that's not what Jim. But they love what you do so much, Jim. They want to. They want to do it too, and it's just so weird. It's a weird thing to want to role model over a friend who talks about a friend's anus.
Emulate it? Do people try to emulate it to you?
Jim? Oh yeah. You've missed those episodes of.
I must have. Wow.
Yeah, on Podtoid.
I've seen it because I struggle to say things without people bringing it up. It's worse for Jonathan. I won't pretend it's not, but a lot of times any of us could say anything. And someone will turn it into, oh, by that you mean Jonathan Holmes' anus.
Yeah, they really enjoy it.
And to be fair, a lot of them have cooled down since we did point out that when Jonathan Holmes works very hard on a video or an article, it's a bit... It would be nicer to talk about what he's worked on.
Get a little bit old.
Yeah.
Well, and it's when someone else is... fun. And when someone else is in the video, like I'll do an episode of Talking to Women about video games, and
it's disrespectful for the other person there, absolutely.
Yeah, and then she's like, "Oh, cool! I get to show my video to my mom." I'm like, "I'm sure you sent her the link from Destructoid, not the YouTube link, because top comment's gonna be bacon and anus." It's like, no, yeah,
bacon.
Yeah, that's one.
Oh, it's funny because I live in Portland. You can't get anything here that doesn't have bacon in it.
Jim, for a while, was saying his penis was shaped like a piece of bacon.
No, I wasn't saying it was. I was saying I would like to be in a scenario where it is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Where my penis is long and flat and like, and you've got a gaping anus that is pulsating and wheezing.
Yeah, like.
And that's just a beautiful image. I don't think I've got a problem with it. That is romance. That is like Valentine's Day times 10.
Yes, for the mothers of the women who are on Talking to Women about video games, it's less than Valentine's Day-esque. Yes.
It's modern.
It is modern. It is progressive. You're right.
Yeah.
They'll get with it.
Come on, Anderson Cooper.
Anderson Cooper.
That's my answer to everything now. Anderson Cooper. Come on, guys, get with the program. Speaking of which, I think I'm surprised I've kept my fucking.
You know, my mother occasionally asks, "So can I watch this thing you're on?"
Oh, this is highly recommended listening for all ages.
Yeah.
I consider this podcast to be canonically existing within the Brave universe.
Brave, as in the new Pixar
The Disney
film?
Pixar. I like to imagine that in the universe of Brave, Podtoid is available to download.
I could hear her voice in the back of my head. Well, probably wouldn't have talked about the anus.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Life.
I tell you what, though.
Yeah.
Let's tell the lovely listeners, if they've listened to this and they thought, well, those three handsome, fancy boys were fantastic. I'd love to see, hear, and read more of them.
Oh.
What would they be able to find if, say, they were looking for you, Jonathan, this week?
Me? Yes. Well, I'm hoping to finally finish the article, my second part 2 of my look at Lollipop Chainsaw. Every day I've added new ideas to it. I'm going to do a long paragraph about RuPaul's Drag You and how much I love it. So it's just going to be a thing I'm going to write, hopefully tonight, and post it tomorrow on July 4th, assuming I can convince someone to proofread it, probably Tony Ponce. So that'll go up along with the video that has Jessica Negri, who played Juliet in Lollipop Chainsaw, talking about the game. So that'll be there. And I'm also posting a whole new Talking to Women About Video Games video probably on Thursday with Shannon from Nintendo talking about the Wii U and graphics and whether Nintendo thinks graphics are important or not. So that turned out all right. We just edited that yesterday. Shannon's really funny in it. And then on Sunday, Conrad and I do a show called Sup Holmes. Conrad, if you ever want to host it, I can get someone to do an intro. Sup Conrad. That would be fun. No? All right. Because Conrad, I feel like Conrad's presence on camera is underutilized because he's so good on camera. Anyway, this week we're having Christine Love, who is the developer of Analog: A Hate Story, which is available on Steam. It's a strange sort of text picture adventure where you dig into a computer's databank and kind of find out. It's almost like Wikipedia, the game. You just like find out.
It was just on sale recently. It was just in a Steam promotion.
It's done well for as far as text adventures go, which is not something that's very flashy and easy to promote. It's done well, so I'm really excited to talk to her about that. She'll be on this Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Twitch TV channel on Destructoid, and then you can catch the podcast version of it.
Podtoid.tv if you want it simple.
Thank you, Conrad. And if you want to just listen to it, we're on iTunes now. Sup, Holmes, ? On iTunes. And I guess I'll ask you this, Conrad. Do you know when the Tim Rogers podcast is going to be up on Sup Holmes?
Should be up now.
Oh, neat. Okay, so you can download that too.
Yeah, let me see here. It says we have 20 episodes. That can't be right.
That's close. I thought it was 18, so pretty close.
Yeah, no, it's up there. Yeah.
Oh, neat. Yeah, okay, so download that. Tim Rogers is a guy who writes for Kotaku, and he also makes video games. He made one called Ziggurat, and he's a really interesting guy. He worked for Grasshopper for a long time. He told us all these off-the-record stories about working for Grasshopper, which was weird. Suda51 giving him pants and stuff like that. So if you like that kind of thing, listen to that podcast. It's free. It's fun. It's fun to listen to. Yeah. Man, I do a lot of crap. Sorry. Talk so much.
That's all right.
Jesus. All right, I'm done talking.
What you got for us, Conrad?
Well, this week, I mean, I'm working on a couple reviews. I've got the Penny Arcade review, I guess, because somebody said I had to do it. So I guess I'm doing it. So I'm hoping to get that up by Thursday, probably Wednesday if I'm really, if I'm really behaving myself. But other than that, just there's going to be a whole lot of news. Just keep reading news, and I do Twitter and Sup Holmes. The new podcast episode is up. I think Holmes is going to post another clip up too. So
is that clip on the YouTubes?
That clip's up on the YouTubes, and And it's good. Actually, it's a really good clip. Rogers was surprising. Rogers was surprising in a lot of ways to me.
Yeah.
He was
I didn't know
definitely
what
an
to
interesting-
expect. I thought he
He
was
was-
going to be like rival and maybe not friendly, but he was forthcoming and nice and funny. He's a great
he was
guy.
interesting.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what I got going on right now. Just a couple of reviews that I'm gonna get going out there, and that's it.
Word. On my own shit, the Theatrhythm review went up this week. Talked about that. Gave it a 7 out of 10. Very good game, fun game, but I felt that it gets a bit repetitive and boring. A lot of the same songs come up. I talk about it in the review. Read it, you prick. I will actually be on holidays from tomorrow. This goes up on iTunes tonight. By the time most of you hear this, I will be dead. I will be away. So I don't have a lot coming up. I do have a feature scheduled for Thursday afternoon, which is already written, that's ready to go up on Destructoid, talking about aliens, colonial marines, and a few creative decisions or non-decisions they've been making. It's an interesting little thing. Otherwise, if you go to escapistmagazine.com, this week's Jimquisition was about... It was a continuation of the Podtoid discussion we had last week, which proved so popular and delighting for the crowds. It was about art games. I put down a bit more succinctly and clearly there what I struggled to say here, because, as I said, I got roped into my own argument trap and had to finish it. And it was an interesting thing. It was very pretentious, and I hated myself after I did it. So that's cool.
Aw, Jim, don't hate
That's the
yourself. You're
spirit,
great.
Jim.
Yeah. We may not ever agree on this whole art games thing, but I think you're great, and I'm glad you're speaking your mind.
I agree, you're great, and I'm glad you felt miserable and disgusting.
Oh,
That's why it's good to have Conrad on. He is the balance man.
he is. He's the perfect middle to our weird fat ends.
He is the hand in our
in your
sandwich.
Oreo? Is that what this is coming down
Yeah.
Kind
to?
of are. Yeah. Feels
You're
good.
the rainbow cream in our Oreo. That is another satire modern Anderson Cooper, guys. Come on. Let's do it for Congress. I don't know why. Whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to Pop. Thank you
I didn't mean to do that. That was a genuine sigh. When you threw modern in, and you're like, Anderson Cooper modern, get with the times, guys. That modern.
Come on! Stop sitting on your laurels. Let's roll up your sleeves and muck in. Current affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to Podtoid, as always. I've been your host, Jim Sterling, and I've been with Jonathan and Conrad. You can follow us on Twitter if you want. It's all right. You can follow Conrad at Conrad Zimmerman, all one word. Jonathan Holmes is at Tronknots, TRONKNOTTS, and I'm at Jim Sterling. That's all one word. It's all right. You can get us on iTunes, RSS if you want. If you want, do reviews for us on iTunes and say we're good. Don't do comedy reviews saying we're bad. The 1 star doesn't register as irony. I can tell some of them are written to be funny, but then it's just a bad review.
Yeah, it's just people, because the higher your review is, the more people are going to give you a chance, and they won't know you're joking.
Yeah.
Write the review with that joke. Just give it the appropriate number of stars. Give it the honest number of stars.
If you like it that much. Yeah.
People will then divine your joke.
And maybe be funnier
that
way.
Exactly. Yeah. You will be the clown prince of crime. And we'd have tricked another idiotic sap into listening to this puerile shit. So everyone wins. There is an Android app, I guess, not device, app that you can get from the Amazon store. Don't get it anywhere else. It's fucked anywhere else. That's $2. You get literally nothing extra. You just listen to this shite on your phone. But it tosses us, I guess, a little extra cash. And thank you so much to the people that do that. The money goes, I assume, toward hosting this show. So thank you. I really appreciate you guys listening and subscribing and buying shit that is a total waste of money. And I guess until then, catch us out on Distractoid and everywhere else where we haunt. And we will see you on this show next week. Thank you and goodbye.
Oh, what a solid ending that was.
I'll show you my solid ending.